ready.
All right. I'd like to call to order the meeting, the April 20th, 2023 meeting of the Delaware County Land Reutilization Corporation, also known as the Land Bank. And Sarah, actually, we're going to have two meetings today. The first one is the annual meeting, and I will call that meeting to order at 1:30. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the 2022 annual meeting minutes, last year's annual meeting minutes.
Move to
Were
approve.
distributed, okay. Any changes, comments? Sarah, you want to, well, we'll just.
You
What?
second.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Okay, any further comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign.
I'll abstain on that.
Michelle was not here last year, so her abstention is noted. The next item on the agenda is a formality. We've already submitted the Hinkle report, which is a required report to the state for the land bank, and that was filed on February 22nd of this year for the 2022 annual report. We acknowledged it at the last meeting in March, so there's no real action to take on this, but I just want to point it out that it was submitted really very, very early, so I compliment our financial team for getting it so organized and getting it through the process and to the state. Next item, again, the annual meeting doesn't really have a whole lot of content typically, and this one is no different. The selection of the chair, vice chair, treasurer, treasurer, and secretary are the next four items. And so I will open it up for the selection of the chair.
I'll make a motion for Jeff Penn to be chair of the land bank.
Okay,
Second.
second. Further discussion? If anybody else wants to be chair someday, I'm certainly willing to negotiate. This should be a very negotiable item, so. But anyway, okay, I'm fine doing it again. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Now, the selection of the vice chair, the next item on the agenda.
I'll make a motion for Mr. Eflin to be the vice chair.
And you want a
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? You want to negotiate any day?
No, that's okay.
All right. And again, appreciate Dave and everybody willing to take on some of these officer roles. Okay, let's take a vote. Sarah, we'll just do voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Next one is the selection of the treasurer.
Make a motion that Mr. Merrill remain the treasurer for the land bank.
Okay, Michelle, you want to second?
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, do a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Congratulations, Treasurer Merrill. Selection of secretary is the next item. I did reach out to Michelle yesterday. She said she would be willing to serve in that role, and I, again, appreciate that. You know, we electronically record the minutes. Sarah writes down all the motions, you know, just for have written documentation of those. And so it's pretty straightforward. And I think, Karen, you had a point that there's a requirement. Yeah, maybe you can come up to the microphone, record it. Karen came across this item from Ray and Associates, our auditors and the Land Bank's auditors.
Yeah, I'm Karen First with the fiscal manager for the Board of Commissioners, and yeah, Ray and Associates, who's doing the audit for the land bank this year, said that the public records training certificate needs to be provided for the secretary or the record custodian, so we'll need to get that from you at some point. So,
Okay.
I assume you probably do that.
I've done it. How recent does it have to be?
and they didn't say, so I can always ask. but,
Okay.
So,
Like I said, you probably do that routinely, don't you, as administrator? Yeah, okay.
all right, thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, would you entertain a motion, Ms. Bonnie is for the secretary for the land bank?
Be happy to second that motion.
Thanks.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. So we have our slate of officers. And again, thanks to everybody for being willing to take on those roles. We do have one other item that is, and just back up, by way of documentation, or by way of explanation, we are required to have an annual meeting in the month of April. So that's why we're doing this now. But anyway, the annual ethics policy was distributed, and everyone needs to, as part of our oversight, everybody needs to fill out a statement for conflict of interest. And Sarah collects those, don't you? You know, collect those?
I do.
Okay. I don't know, Dave, if you have one, or we can get you a blank.
I will.
No proposed changes. Okay. Michelle, do you have one? Do you need one?
I could use a copy, if you
Yeah, I've got mine. I've got an extra blank.
And Dave has a bunch of extras too.
You need a form?
Thanks.
That was it. Yep.
Yeah.
And again, it's good governance to annually make sure everyone's aware of the conflict of interest policy. Not that any of us really are in a position where we do any business, but occasionally, if something came up in Orange Township, for instance, Michelle may have to recuse herself. But anyway, Sarah, if you can just collect those.
Yes.
And I appreciate that. And I don't know if anybody had any other business for the annual meeting of the Land Bank?
Thank you. Otherwise,
Hearing none.
30 seconds. Thanks, Mika.
Hearing none. The April 2023 meeting of the annual meeting of the Delaware County Land Bank is hereby adjourned. All right, so that ends the annual meeting. We have 12 seconds to start the regular meeting. All right, Sarah, I think we're ready for the regular meeting.
We're ready.
We're on?
Yes.
All right, I'd like to call to order the meeting, the April 2023 meeting of the Delaware County Land Reutilization Corporation, also known as Delaware County Land Bank. This is our regular quarterly meeting. We may need to have another meeting later on this quarter, but we're required to have at least one a quarter, so that would will meet that qualification. So anyway, the meeting is called to order. First action is to approve the electronic record of the proceedings and minutes from the March 9th, 2023 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, meetings are approved. Next item is the treasurer's report. Mr. Merrill?
Pretty straightforward. Our bank balance, I think everyone has a copy. The bank balance is $148,580.13 as of 3/31/23, and I think there's one outstanding check. Other than that, that's my report.
Okay. We do have a first half DTAC check
Yep.
coming in the next literally few days. That's 64,000 and some change, so we'll be a little over 200,000.
64,944.56 to be exact.
Okay. And that's the first half of the tax collection fees. Okay. Next item on the agenda is Ohio Department of Development Master Budget alterations. We've had two that we submitted and got. I signed both these, didn't I, Scott?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we've processed two. The first one, I don't know, Dave, if you had any comments on it, was a pretty routine realignment of some of the expenses on the Delaware City demolition project.
Yeah, I think for all of these, it's just minor adjustments to the already approved budgets to be in conformance with the ODOD requirements and as the projects have progressed, just changing some budget amounts within the line items.
Yep. So yeah, we have those two that have been approved and processed, and minor adjustments, and not asking for an increase in the allocations. So we can, we don't need to act on those, do we, Scott?
No.
Okay, I thought we had the authority. process those. Next item is foreclosure update. We get that every month from the prosecutor. There is one property left. You know, they keep pushing properties through, and like we've experienced in the past, the properties get either settled prior to foreclosure. Typically, that's what happens, and if not, they'll go through foreclosure process, and the sheriff will do a sale, and again, the vast majority of the time, those properties are settled and off the foreclosure process before they get after, or before they could be eligible for the land bank to acquire them. Just acknowledging we have one property with $2,273 back tax due. It's in, I think it's in Shawnee Hills, East Pawnee Drive.
There's a typo on the report, it says Pawnee Hills, but I think.
Or Pawnee Drive, it's in Shawnee Hills.
Oh, okay, that's it,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, Pawnee Drive, I think that's Shawnee. Anyway, the prosecutor's working through that process, and presumably we'll have that addressed pretty quickly. Brownfield and demolition updates. I want to, again, as we've done numerous times in the past, acknowledge Diane Gunther's outstanding contribution in terms of managing the demolition grants and the brownfield grant that we've been processing. She keeps a running document that lists all the activities on the demolition grants and the brownfield grant. Great documentation in terms of how things are progressing. Dave, I don't know if you had any, I know things are going very well. I'm very pleased.
My thanks to Diane and Jerry Warner, Chief Building Official, has been involved in some of these as well. I think our thanks to the owners of this particular property as well, working with us. I think good progress is being made, and I believe asbestos abatement is scheduled to begin here in early May.
Yeah.
So there'll be some good activity out on it.
Yeah, May 1st is what the update said, that it's supposed to start. The asbestos removal was bid out, 3 good bids received, they selected the lowest and best, and turned in quite a bit lower than what they budgeted, so
Yep.
that's good. They're gonna proceed with that. And we're authorized, aren't we, Scott, now to make that payment? I think we
Well, to make the,
did the asbestos.
well, obviously, you mean once the work's all completed? Yes, I believe the board's prior action, I'd have to go back and look at my notes. Once it's all completed, I think you're authorized to do it, whether or not you want to bring it before the board so you can review to make sure there aren't any other contingencies or asterisks next to it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, so that's good, and again, the plan was, go ahead and do the asbestos remediation. It's in the $55,000 range, so it's well below what we thought it was gonna be.
Right.
And pay that, submit a proposal, or submit a request for reimbursement from ODOD, get the reimbursement, and then begin the demolition work. But we probably wouldn't even need to get reimbursed before we could start the demolition work, but we have authorization to proceed with both of those, so.
Yes.
And great to see. That'll really help a lot with that project and get that property moving, which is outstanding. Okay, Dave, on the others, I know the city of Delaware, the project, the 2 auto parts buildings, really looks good there.
Yeah, we had good contracting and bidding as well, and buildings are obviously removed. We just have to finish up with some site work there. The weather hasn't been too helpful. Been a little odd here, the weather, the last month or so. So but that's slated to get finished up, I believe, next week. At this point.
Yeah, I drove by the other day and they were out grading the lot.
Yep.
So it looks like it's ready to seed.
Yep. I know I was in Sunbury the other day, and they're making good progress on theirs as well.
Okay. I know Scioto's project is behind schedule. We got the extension, so they're okay, but.
A little behind, but I think I think 2 bids were received, if I recall correctly, 2 or 3. For that project, there was some work in better refining what kind of abatement would have to be done. I think that was refined downward from initial projections, so that should help that project and budget.
Okay. And then Powell, anybody? Any of
That
us?
building's all down. for
Yeah,
sure.
the
Oh, it is
building-
down.
yeah,
I
the
live
building's
right, I
down.
live right there, so I saw it all. So
Okay.
it's not quite as far along as the site work, I don't think, as the Spring Street Delaware buildings, but
Now,
I think they're just finishing clearing that parcel, but.
Okay.
Yep.
Good, good, yeah. That'll be a nice improvement for downtown Powell. I mean, it's good lot, good location, so.
yeah, I don't think at this meeting we need to necessarily go into the details, but you'll notice in Diane's report that because bids came in lower, and there haven't been, to date, change orders, to the project, she's contacted ODOD to understand whether or not, the original allocation that we received, there'd be a difference there. Whether we could entertain even doing, an additional project, especially since the programs have been extended in time. She hasn't received a reply to that yet, but there, maybe at the next meeting, or we may have to call a meeting in between as the projects progress. Probably need to let them progress a little farther just to make sure that there aren't any changes. Get that response back from ODOD, and pending that response, determine whether we have any other
Solicit,
projects or
yeah.
solicit some more, or what we can do from that point. Something we hadn't really anticipated.
Yeah, yeah. Good to know that the projects are getting done and done below budget. That's
What's the address of that
good things.
property?
I'm sorry, what, Michelle?
What's the address of that property? Just so I could,
The average?
the address, sorry.
in
Oh, addresses.
Scioto, is it?
Which property?
The one that we would want to revisit
Oh.
soon.
Well, there's,
You're talking about like 7 and 9 Spring Street or something like that?
yeah,
That's
I was
the-
just curious to see it, but
yeah, the addresses are, I think they might be in here.
Yeah,
This update, I think Michelle will have,
we can get them to
one
you.
of Diane's updates should have those addresses in there.
is that? Oh, okay, I see it.
Yeah, there were 2 in the city of Delaware right next to each other, 2 in Sunbury, again, I think right next to each other.
Mhm.
One in Scioto Township and then one in Powell.
Okay,
And then the Brownfield project is up here in the northwest part of the city of Delaware. Okay. Any other information to share on the Brownfield and or demolition work being done, grants? Okay, we'll move on to the next topic. The DTAC, the first half, like I said, the first half payment is 64,000 plus. That should, the check has been cut, that should be coming to the land bank any day now. We do have policy, again, good governance, I think, is you review your policies annually. Sarah, you did send out the policies, I think, to, yeah. the electronic-
Anyone who asked for it, I did.
Okay. So I don't propose any changes. I don't know if anybody else had any changes to the existing policy. We wanted to talk about the travel policy, but the existing policies, we've spent some time working on them in the past. They seem to be working with, again.
I have one comment with respect to the disposition policy.
Mhm.
Obviously, we have many of these policies because of the amount of real property that's come into the hands or the land bank's been involved. We haven't been faced with a whole lot of various circumstances. But in the disposition policy, it talks about various scenarios where the land bank might dispose of property either by sale or by just simply quitclaim deed or donation or what have you. It refers to title insurance, and I had some notes from before that the land bank would prepare and provide title insurance, but I would recommend that in the scenarios that are provided, that it read that title insurance would be paid for by the transferee, the recipient, if they so desired. Some of these properties, like a side lot, might not require or necessitate title insurance. And of course, depending on the circumstance, even if you put that in the policy or you adopt it, if the land bank would decide, oh no, we are willing to provide health or title insurance in this circumstance, you're always able to do that, of course. But so is it critical right now? No, but it did jump out at me in the various scenarios. it obligates, or it says our policy is gonna be, we will provide title insurance, and, I guess I would suggest that put the onus on the recipient or the transferee if they felt that they needed it or wanted it.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Let's see, board okay with that? Is there any, again, it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes
And-
I
sense.
think it makes sense.
And if we always have the ability to pay it ourselves,
we do.
by
You
board
do.
action, so. So do you want to give some language to Sarah to?
Yes, I mean, the specific sections that I'm referencing in the disposition policy are sections B, B3D, so it's the last provision of that, and then C3C, and as well as D3D. And all of those provisions, they're recited identically, and currently they read, "The land bank will prepare and provide a quitclaim deed for the property, including title insurance, and otherwise facilitate closing." I would suggest that I suggest that it read that the land bank will prepare and provide a quitclaim deed for the property, including title insurance, at the sole cost of the transferee, if desired by the transferee, comma, and otherwise facilitate closing. So,
Could I suggest maybe we just put that wording together and we vote on it at the next meeting so we have the correct verbiage in front of us?
okay,
That's fine.
There's nothing imminent that would require it in the next
No.
3 months, and that way we know we'll have it. And then we can maybe have a clean copy of the bylaws that you could share theoretically if we approve it.
Okay.
Well done, I'll write it in there.
Okay. So any other changes, Scott, to any of the other policies?
No.
Okay. Well, what I would suggest is we go ahead and approve the other policy.
Yeah. Yes.
To be renewed, and then we'll not approve the disposition. We'll do that at the next meeting. Okay. Okay, anything else? Any other discussions on those policies then? The existing policies? I would entertain a motion to approve those three, not the disposition property, the disposition policy.
So moved.
Just a question, do we have to reapprove them again? We've already approved them, right? So wouldn't they just continue?
Yeah, this
or-
is just an annual review.
Okay.
So would any action need to be
Yeah,
taken?
that's a good question.
I'm sorry, what?
Would any action need to be taken
Yeah,
if we're
it's
just reviewing the policies?
I don't think so. I don't think action needs to be taken unless.
We don't need action, okay.
They've been adopted
Yeah,
indefinitely
that's true.
unless.
Unless we're changing it, it's probably.
Yeah, okay. So
I
we'll
guess
do it
the
that
only
way.
action would be to amend the disposition policy.
And we're gonna do
For
that
next
on the
meeting,
next
yeah.
meeting,
We'll do
when we
that.
get,
Okay.
when we get exact verbiage.
Oh, got it.
Yep,
So we're all voting on the same thing.
okay. All right, so no action on that. And then also, one topic that has come up in the past, and that is reimbursement of travel expenses. We did do we have had, and it's appropriate, we should reimburse directors or others who are representing the land bank for their travel. But, consistent with the county's policy and probably the township's, travel should, again, I think it should be approved in advance. But we don't have a travel policy in place right now, so there's no policy to address that topic. But, so, anyway, I had Scott draft a policy for the land bank to adopt. It has been, Scott did do that, and it has been distributed for review. I'm not asking for action today, but I think kind of with the policy on demolition or disposition, it would make sense to have a travel policy. And this is the county's travel policy with changes, in language that would reflect this becomes the land bank policy. So,
Yes, I utilized the counties, and then I found half a dozen other land bank policies that have already been adopted throughout Ohio and inserted and edited those for our purposes.
okay. So anyway, wanted to just make sure everybody, you know, is okay with adopting a land bank travel policy. Again, I'm not asking for action at this meeting, but it reflects the county policy. I think the big things are basically travel policy, travel expenses need to be approved in advance, which again, I think is appropriate the way we've always done it at the county. And limits, I mean, it kind of spells out what's eligible. It's the typical stuff: hotel, transportation, what? Food, yeah, meals, conference fees.
Gas
are
reimbursement.
the typical ones, and it spells out what's kind of some reasonable limits, that sort of thing, so.
And who would qualify to be reimbursed?
Yeah. And the big thing is submit it in advance and have it approved ahead of time. Because again, I think it's certainly appropriate that, you know, Michelle is going to the land bank conference. I think it's certainly appropriate we.
And I
reimburse.
asked the township in advance, of course, before I registered, but.
Yep. So anyway, that is that for the travel policy. I don't know if anybody had any comments or.
You all are county-related and township-related individuals, so you're probably more familiar with this than how we do it at the city. But as I read this, this is really reimbursing for land bank board members or employees of the land bank. And if there's somebody else traveling with that person, maybe it's a spouse or maybe it's, you know, just some other colleague or whatever to save money on, because they're traveling to the same place and you take one car, it saves mileage and stuff, but the reimbursement would only be to the land bank board or employees, not related
Yes.
travelers. Is that,
Yes.
I'm reading that?
Right, correct.
That's-
Employees being the people, and we really don't have any employees.
No, we don't have any, but I mean, I think it's,
Representative of the land bank.
yeah, it's looking to maybe the future representative. Okay.
Only exception that would be maybe if we were asked in advance and we evaluate and determine as a group that we want to make an exception for us. But-
Sure, yeah, we
But-
both think so.
But I think that would be an appropriate perspective.
Does the policy allow for the exception that Director Merrill just mentioned? As we're reviewing them in advance, can we do that based
Yes.
on the
I
policy?
mean, it references board of directors, which obviously are the individuals here, employees or agents of the land bank. So I
Okay.
would think, for example, Diane Gunther,
An agent.
to go to some conference on
Take an
behalf
example.
on land bank business, if she knew about that in advance, she or some proposal comes to the land bank, say, yeah, of course, we want her to go there on behalf of the land bank.
Okay.
So these are our anticipated costs, yes, we approve that.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And there's a provision in there that if you run over for some reason, or unforeseen expenses, you can submit those and be reimbursed.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we'll put that on the agenda for the next meeting as well. I'm not sure we want to set a date for the next meeting because depending on what happens with the demolition of brownfield grants, you know, and Diane's request of ODOD, we may need to schedule another meeting this quarter, so I think we'll just hold off on that for now unless, everybody okay with that, Michelle?
Oh, I'm okay with that.
All right, anybody have any other business?
If I have one more other item, this board reviewed a public records retention policy back in December of '22, and accompanied that, it's necessary that the land bank have a records retention schedule, like every government agency, and so I've prepared and I circulated using other schedules that I discovered of other land banks throughout Ohio, and used the suggestions from the state archives or the local government records program, and so I've submitted that to you for your review. Obviously, like anything, it could be amended as time goes on, but I believe as I submitted it to you, it's in compliance with any applicable retention schedule laws.
Okay. Did we send that out, Sarah? I don't recall seeing
I
that.
don't see it.
I might have neglected to do that, and my apologies. I will forward that on today.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, I didn't think I had seen that, so, and that's good, that's another one of those things we need to,
So we just vote on that next meeting, we
Yeah.
handle the other two items.
yeah, we've already approved the records retention policy, but but now we have to have a records retention schedule, correct? Yeah. So, all right, we will do that at the next meeting as well. Okay, anything else then? Scott, you got anything else? Justin or Karen? You guys in good shape? Okay. Michelle?
No further comment.
All right. Dave? All right. That is it for the regular meeting of the Land Bank. We now stand